Hello to everyone and welcome on the YouTube channel School for All. If you are discovering this channel through this video, I'm called Paula Eve, a computer science and ICT teacher. So on this channel, you are going to find videos concerning all your different practical sessions, whether you are doing ICT or computer science. So videos on programming, database, Microsoft Excel, and so on are available on the YouTube channel. So the first thing is make sure you have subscribed to the YouTube channel, and each time you are done with a video, like the video and leave a comment. So thank you. Let us start the video. Ciao. So today we are starting with a new topic under database, which is database normalization. So I received so many messages concerning this topic that say I'm not understanding normalization and so on and so forth. Whereas for me, database normalization is something very easy. You just need, in fact, the right explanation behind the thing. So, and in this video, I'm going to detail everything step by step with clear example, because what happens here is you need to understand it with some real life example, so that you try to see what's the problem first and what is the solution. You'll be seeing that normalization, in fact, is a solution to something. So that's why I'm going to start this lesson by clearly explaining the problem. Then we are going to see how normalization is solving that problem. Exactly that. And this chapter, or let me say this topic, is for computer science advanced level student and ICT advanced level student. Very important. Like, it's not possible for you to have a past GCE question where they are not talking about normalization. And it's not only for paper 3. It's paper 3, paper 2, and paper 1. So take this very seriously. Any problem, leave a comment, and at the end of this tutorial, if you have enjoyed everything, leave a positive comment and just like the video. Now before we start with database normalization, I want us to discuss on keys in database. Good. So generally people are getting things like what's a primary key, foreign key, super key, candidate key, and so on and so forth. So I want us to be very clear on the different type of keys that exist in database first. And from there, now we are going to move to database normalization, because it's very important to master keys first. Now, so yeah, this is a document. As usual, I'm having my document, like I'm doing my notes first, so that I'll be using that to carry out the tutorial. So this is to move very fast and to avoid typing everything from zero. So if you need this document, just leave a comment. I've detailed everything in the document. As you are seeing these tables, in fact, this table represents a different example and so on and so forth. So as usual, the aim of the tutorial is to explain everything. But if you need the document, just take, I'll send the document for free. Now, so we start. Consider a database with the following table. So here we have the table student. Good. So this is the table student here, student ID, student name, and class. Okay. We have the table teacher, teacher ID, teacher name, and teacher phone number. We have the table subject. So these are the different information in the table subject. And here we have the table student subject. So it is another table here called student subject table. Now, I'm using this different table because I want to explain the concept of each keys, in fact, that exists in database. So let us start with the first one, primary key. So the primary key is the main ID that uniquely identifies each row in a table. Like if I take a table like this, here I'm having the column student ID. So student ID, if you look very well, you'll be seeing that here the first student I'm having 101, the second 102, the second 103. Are you seeing that 101 is not repeating in any other row? It simply means that this 101 is identifying the student called Arjun Meta, is in form 5 uniquely. Like this is the ID. So see this student ID as the matricule of a student, and two persons cannot have that. Good. And generally when we talk about primary key, it's either a column of your table or combination of columns that uniquely identify each row. Now, and never forget that uniquely identify each row simply means that a row is not appearing twice in your table. Take note of that. Good. So, and in this case, when I'm looking at this table student, is very clear that student ID is what is the primary key. Why is it that student name cannot be the primary key? Because in a particular class we can have more than one student having the same name. So you are seeing that the student name can repeat. Now the class, of course, so we can have multiple students in form 5A. So you are seeing that the class can repeat. Good, but for the ID here, it is unique for each student. Take note of that. So that's why in this table, student ID is the primary key. Now, so you are seeing that in this table, just one column is the primary key. Good. I'm going to take another example where a single column cannot be primary key. Like you need to combine with other columns, in fact, for you to have a primary key. Now the table teacher, so the primary key here is what? Teacher ID, meaning that this column uniquely identify each record. I think it's clear. Subject table, the same thing. Yes, subject ID uniquely identify each record. Now if you go to the table, this table here, subject table or student subject table, good. Now you realize something. Here in this table, you are having student ID, you are having subject ID, and you are having grade. You realize something. Look at the column student ID. You see that there, the first row you have 101. The second row you have again 101. So you are seeing that this column alone cannot uniquely identify a record, because I'm already having and the next thing I want to mention also is that a record is a row in database. Good. So I can use the term record, or I can use the term row. Good. So since primary key normally is supposed to uniquely identify a row, you're already saying that here we are no more respecting it, because this row is having 101 and this row is having again 101. So we cannot uniquely identify a row just by using what? The student ID. But now look at something. If you combine student ID and student subject, now student ID here represent a student subject represent what? The subject. And if you are seeing maybe 101 here, 101 here, it simply means what? That the student 101 is offering the subject, I think it's biology. This is the ID of biology, and that same student is offering what? This is the ID of chemistry. So you are seeing that one student can offer multiple subjects, but one student cannot offer the same subject twice. Like here, it's not possible to come and have 101, then you have bio 101, then you come again and have 101 and again bio 101. It's not possible. It's very clear that a student can offer multiple subjects. So you are seeing that if I combine the column student ID and subject ID, I'm always sure to have what? A unique row, a unique record. I'm always sure to do so. Like here, this is 101, but if you look here, you see chemistry to 210. Now 102, bio something, this another 102, but here it's physics. So you are seeing that when you combine student ID and subject ID, it uniquely identifies each row. Good. So there's no repetition when you're using both combination. So in this case, now you are seeing that our primary key is a combination of columns, and I've mentioned it here. So if you look very well, this last one I said it can be a single column or combination of columns. Take note. The next thing is cannot be empty. Never forget this point, very important. So it's not possible in fact to have a primary key and the cell is empty, there's nothing inside, and you are filling maybe the next column. No, it's not possible. Good. The next thing is must be unique for every row. Exactly what I was saying. So don't be having a primary key that repeats itself in another row. No, it's not working like that. So I think we are done with primary key. Now example from the table. So all what I was explaining here, I've written it down here. Like here you see table student, the primary key is student ID. Table teacher is teacher ID. Table subject ID. On the table student subject is what? Combination of student ID and subject ID. And I'm explaining it here. Are you seeing another column Y? So I think I've explained everything there correctly. We go to the next key, foreign key. Now what's the foreign key? Good. A foreign key definition. It is a column in one table that points to the primary key of another table. So in other words, what happened here is the foreign key is just used to create a link between two tables, or let me say a relationship between two tables. Now in database, there's something you're supposed to know. There's what we call flat file database, and there's what we call relational database. So in simple words, a flat file database in fact is a database with just one table. We call that flat file database. Now, a relational database, in fact, is a database with multiple tables related together. Good, like linked together, let me say it like that. So this is what we call relational database. So in a relational database, not as if you have multiple tables and each person is just like individual like that. No, a table is linked to another table, and we are going to see how to work. And for us to create a link between one table and another table, we need to use what we call a foreign key. So meaning what? A foreign key is just a column in a table that is primary in another table. Take note of that. Let me take an example. Now, if I go back to my example, now the table student, you hear that here we have student ID, which is already the primary key. Now, when you look the two other columns, none of them can be foreign key, because we say a foreign key of a table is the primary key of another table. So you have seen that here student name is not primary in another table, class also is not primary in another table. Good. So let us go directly to the table subject. Good. So what happens here is subject ID is what is the primary key here. But look at something here. I'm having another column, teacher ID, and teacher ID here is the primary key of the table. What of the table teacher? It simply means whether in the table subject, teacher ID is a foreign key. As easy as that. Good. And what is the use of this thing? It's just to link the two tables. For example, if I want to interpret it, you realize that the subject biology is being checked by teacher having ID number 1, and teacher with ID number 1 is Mr. Gupta. Take note of that. So you have seen that from the table subject, if you want to know the name of the teacher teaching that particular subject, you just look at the foreign key. It links you to the actual table of teacher, and from there you have the name or any other information you want to know about the teacher. And this thing will help you when we are going to talk about normalization, because what happens in normalization, we are dividing table and creating a relationship like this one. Good. So I think here we are clear with what is a foreign key. Now if you go to the table student subject, now at the level of the table student subject, you realize that here we have what? Student ID, and student ID is primary in the table what? In the table student. So it simply means that in this table student ID is a foreign key. Subject ID the same thing. Subject ID is primary in another table, in the table what? In the table subject. Good. So it simply means that in the table student subject ID here is what? Is a foreign key. Take note of that. So I've explained foreign key. I think we are clear. Okay, so this example table is where I'm just giving the different answers. Good. And here is just a small diagram to visualize. Now we go to composite key. What is a composite key? So the definition here is clear. A composite key is a primary key that is made up of two or more columns combined together. Exactly that. So remember that a primary key can be a single column or combination of columns. So by the time you are having combination of columns, we call that composite key. Like in this table, if I move at the level of the table student subject, now you realize something on this table. You realize that here student ID alone cannot uniquely identify a record. We saw that the last time. Why? Because student ID is repeating. Like here we have 101 in row 1, and in row 2 we have again 101, so it's repeating. The same thing, subject ID alone cannot uniquely identify a record, because here you see there is biology 101 and there's also biology 101 again appearing down here, so it cannot uniquely identify. But we saw that when we combine student ID and subject ID, they uniquely identify each row. Good. So you have seen that for the table subject, for the table student subject, the primary key of this table is both student ID and subject ID combined. So it simply means that for this table, the primary key is a composite key. Take note of that, a composite key. So don't forget that a composite key, a primary key that is made up of two or more columns combined together. Nice. So some of the characteristics here, I've mentioned some of them. It's a type of primary key, of course. It's a type of primary key. We know it very well. Made up of multiple columns, of course. I've said that. The combination of all columns together must be unique. Yeah, it's exactly what I was explaining. Like when you're already combining two or more columns to be a primary key, the combination should be unique. Very important. So don't come and combine like this table here. Don't come and combine student ID, subject ID, and we find a row repeating itself. Like you go and check, you can see something like 101 by 101, and you see again 101 by 101 somewhere. It simply means that these two people cannot uniquely identify a record. Good. But generally, you know, be having example where you are suffering to see. Generally, is very clear. Nice. Good. Now example, so for the example I've explained it already, but it's written here, so for those that will be reading this note, you will see it clearly. Good. Now we go to the next definition. Number 4, candidate key. Now let us define it very fast. A candidate key is any column or combination of columns that could be chosen as the primary key because it is unique for every row. So take note. So either it's a single column or combination of column that could be. They say that could be chosen. When they say that could be chosen, it simply means what? That you have different candidates, in fact, and the person that is chosen is called the candidate key. Let us continue the definition. First of all, they say a table can have multiple candidate keys, but only one is selected to become the primary key. It's exactly that. Now look at the rules. The rules here must be unique for every row. So a candidate key, in fact, is a key itself. So it's very clear it must be unique for every row. It cannot be empty. Here we are okay with that. Now the third point, a table can have several candidate keys. Never forget that. So candidate keys, in fact, is like you are looking maybe the primary key of a table and you realize that you have multiple primary keys. And since you have multiple primary keys, all these keys in fact are called candidate keys. And you choose one person to be your primary key amongst them. The person that you are choosing now is called the candidate key, meaning that the person has been selected. It's exactly that. So let us go through this example now. And the rest of the keys that has not been selected among the list of the different primary keys you have as option is called what? Alternate keys. Don't forget that. Now let us take this example. Now let us say we have a table here. This is a table student. So here I'm having the column student ID, student name, class, national number. Now you realize something, that the column student ID can uniquely identify each record. Like if you look very well, you see that here 101, 102, 103. So student ID is not repeating in any row. Good. Now but realize something at the level of national ID number. You realize also that national ID number is unique in each row, you see, meaning that two students cannot have the same national ID number. So you are seeing that I can decide that national ID number also is what is my primary key. So are you seeing that for this table you have two options? Either you take student ID as your primary key, is correct because student ID uniquely identify each rows, or you take the national ID as your primary key, is still correct. Why? Because national ID uniquely identify each rows. Good. So you are seeing that student ID, national ID numbers are what we call candidate keys. Now among the candidate keys, you are supposed to choose but one person. Good. And the person that you are choosing is called the candidate key. Good. And here now let us say I chose maybe student ID. Like I think it's what I did here. You see. Good. Student ID is unique, not empty. So candidate key. Now what happens here? National ID is also a candidate key, as I was saying. Now here student name is not okay. Yes, for student name we agree. Student name cannot be a candidate key because multiple students can have the same name, so name can repeat. The same thing, class can repeat, so they are not part of the candidate key. So you just have student ID and national ID, as I was saying. Now here what happens here? I'm choosing one. Here we have two candidate keys, so this and this. Okay, I said that already. Now here we choose student ID to be the primary key. So since we are choosing student ID to be the primary key, national ID number becomes what we call alternate key. So an alternate key in fact is just a candidate key that was not selected to be the primary key. It's all good. So I think we are okay. And here you can take multiple examples. It's as if you can see this as, imagine that in a class you have 5 class prefects and the principal is just looking for one class prefect among the 5 to represent maybe the class, I don't know, in a particular competition. Good. So you have seen that since there are 5 class prefects in the class, all the 5 class prefects, we call them candidates. And the person who is selected is called the candidate key. The rest becomes alternate keys. In fact, it's exactly that. Good. So take note of that, and never forget that the person that we are choosing to be the candidate in this case here is what we call the primary key. It's all. So I think candidate key is perfect. Now we go to the last key that is very important to know, is super key. Good. Now, so all what we did so far, in fact, they are super key. So you realize it from this definition. So let us define super key. Super key, it is any set of one or more columns that can uniquely identify a row in a table. Full stop. So we continue. A super key might contain extra unnecessary columns. Take note of that. Now, extra unnecessary columns simply means what? It simply means that you are already having your primary key, you see, but you add another column to your primary key to uniquely identify a record, which is not necessary, because if you are already having a primary key, it simply means that your primary key alone can uniquely identify a record. But you add another column to your primary key, it simply means that column that you're adding is unnecessary. Like if you leave it there, it's not affecting you, so uniquely identify your record. If you remove it, there's no problem. The primary key will still uniquely identify a record. Now, the next point I want to mention here is a candidate key is a minimal super key with no extra column. Now, for you to get this thing, let me just take an example. I think it's better. Now, if I take this example, so here we are having the table student subject. So this is the table here. Now, so what happens here? Let us identify the different super keys that exist here. So here, if I take the combination of student ID, subject ID, this is it here, student ID, subject ID. So this is one super key. Now, if I take student ID, subject ID, and grade, this is another super key. So any combination that you are taking here is a super key. And when you talk about combination, you make sure that combination uniquely identify a record. Like you cannot come and take subject ID and grade to be a super key. No, because subject ID and grade cannot uniquely identify a record, because you can have biology with A grade and biology with A grade again somewhere that appears. It's possible to have that. Good. In that case, subject ID and grade cannot uniquely identify. So when you look this table, these are the different combinations that can uniquely identify. But you realize something, that student ID and subject ID can uniquely identify a record without even adding the column grade to it. In this case, what happened? This set is a super key. I've mentioned it here. It is a super key, and it is also a candidate key. It's also a candidate key, because what did you say? That a candidate key, what is it? A candidate key is a minimal super key with no extra column. Good. And it's exactly what happens here, because if you remove subject ID, student ID alone cannot uniquely identify. So remember that this pair must be present. Good. Now if you take this one, student ID, subject ID, and grade, it can also be used to uniquely identify a record. So it is a super key, but it is not a candidate key. Why? Because there's an extra unnecessary column there, and that extra unnecessary column is what? Is grade. Why? Because if you remove grade there, student ID and subject ID alone can uniquely identify. So that's why here we are saying that a candidate key is a minimal super key. Minimal super key here simply means there's no extra column. Please take note of that. Very, very important. So I think I've explained everything concerning keys. If you have any problem, any worry, just leave a comment. I will reply to you. My WhatsApp number is there at the level of the description of the video. So any question, leave in the comment section. You can text me directly and I will reply. Good. So this document is available also on the platform School for All. If you have any difficulty, leave a comment so that I can even send you the link to the document. So I think we are ending this video here. In the next video now, we are starting database normalization itself. So it was very important first to know the different type of keys and understand them very well. So I think with a different example I took up there, everything is now perfect. So if everything is okay, just leave a comment to confirm that. So see you in the next video for database normalization. Ciao.